So, all right, we're gonna begin. It is official now. We turn this button on, and then we're just gonna do a little warm up here with a little Jaya Radha Madhava, and then glory to the gurus. So, Michael, maybe you just point that at me. It's kind of good there. Just make sure it's looking at me. All right. You guys know the words to this. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Michael, you can just scroll through all together. Oh,
Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svabhavantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Bhagavatam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupa Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sarvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Balan Sahagana Lalita Shri Kanditam Scha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhani Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarvescha Kripa Sindhu Bevascha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyabari Pashatya Deshatarine. Very good. Repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 All right. So we are going to study today from verse 9 of the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. This is called the Chatur Shloki, the four verses of the Bhagavad Gita that sum up the whole thing and pretty much give you the whole essence of the Bhagavad Gita. Now, you would do well to study the other 696 verses of the Bhagavad Gita. And just like, oh, I read the Chatur Shloki, so I'm set. You could get so much from just this Chatur Shloki. You could actually maybe even achieve perfection from the Chatur Shloki knowledge. But, you would do well to definitely study the other 696 verses as well. But these are very important, and one in specific we're going to focus on today. We'll focus on the theme, how to rise above the material crud, or just the lower modes of nature. They're called rajas and tamas. How to rise above these lower modes of nature and then be established on the platform of pure goodness, which is even more, it's transcendental even to the material mode of goodness. In your Satchidananda, say Vastu Siddhi. This is your position above. Now, I'm not saying I'm in this place, but I've been given a map on how to get there, and I'm going to just share the map with you guys today. The process by how we get to this platform above the lower modes of nature, which get us stuck in the 3 gates to hell that the Bhagavad Gita mentions. Does anyone know the 3 gates to hell?
Lust, anger, and greed.
Lust, greed, and anger. These are the 3 gates to hell that the Bhagavad Gita mentions. In the Christian understanding, there's 7 deadly sins, but they actually all stem through the lust, greed, and anger. Please come in, whoever is here. Hare Krishna.
So sorry.
No, dude, don't be sorry. We're so happy that you've come. Hare Krishna, come on in. We're just doing some Bhagavad Katha right now. So, very nice. So we are studying Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter, verse 9, and we're going to talk about how to rise above the modes of material nature, namely Rajas and Tamas, the modes of passion and ignorance. And in these passion and ignorant modes, we have the 3 gates that lead us towards a hellish life, and that's lust, greed, and anger. So we want to rise above these 3 things, but how to do that? That's the question. Now, there are a lot of processes. Actually, there's a whole portion of the Bhagavad Gita and the Vedic Shrutis and Smritis that teach us how to do that. There's the process of Karma Yoga, there's the Karma Yoga Shastras, there's the process of Jnana Yoga, there's the process of meditative Ashtanga Yoga. All of these processes can help us get there. They're all pointed at the same goal, and they're all glorious. But we're going to talk about a process, and Krishna talks about a process in the Bhagavad Gita that is like, if you can imagine, the Empire State Building. Who's been to the Empire State Building? Wow. So if you were to, how did you get to did you go to the top of the Empire State Building? Tell me how you got to the top.
The elevators, and after the elevator there is a level where you have to walk
Okay.
up there on the
Very
top.
good. So you were pretty smart, you took the lift.
Oh, well.
So if you can imagine all these processes of yoga, they're glorious. They're all taking us to the top of the Empire State Building. They're taking us to Mukti and beyond. But there's the stairs, which you could say the other paths that Krishna is giving in the Bhagavad Gita. And then he's like, all right, Arjuna, he doesn't feel qualified to walk the stairs in the end of the 6th chapter. So then Krishna says, all right, let me give you the lift. And so now we're going to discuss the lift. I was listening to Prabhupada today discussing about the lift and then how to do this lift. This is what we're all... Anyone else interested in getting a lift to the highest type of goal of life? We can walk the stairs. It's a bit long, but well, let's get on the lift. So achieve the results a little quicker. So here's the lift. Well, first, I'm just going to give you a context. The beginning of this Chatur Shloki, where's the lift going? It's going to this guy. It's Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddhabhava samanvita. And he says, Krishna is saying, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who know this perfectly engage in my devotional service. Iti matva bhajante mam, and worship me with all their hearts. So Buddha bhava samanvitaha, the learned with great attention, they become devoted unto me, he says. So this is the secret, actually. Well, this is where it's all going, all the other processes, karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, should ultimately point towards the Supreme. They're all processes of approaching the Supreme. And then Bhagavad Gita gives a very condensed essence of who the Supreme is. And Sri Krishna reveals he's the Supreme. And he's come, many think as an avatar. In the Bhagavatam it says that Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. That even He's the source of all the avatars and He's come. So He's the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything's emanating from Him. And once you know this, the wise will engage in service unto that being. That's what the wise do, and here's the lift. You can offer so much charity, so much piety, so much wonderful karma yoga. You can study many different Vedic shastras, cultivate jnana. You can practice for hours pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. But what's it all leading to? That source. And Krishna reveals He is that source. And then, what this all should lead to is bhajante mam, to become devoted, to worship that Supreme Being. And so then he says, this is the Chatur Shloki, this is the verse we're going to do today. So repeat after me. Machchita madgata prana, machchita madgata prana, bodhayanta parasparam, bodhayanta parasparam, kathayantaschamam nityam, tushyanti charamanti cha, machchita, minds fully engaged in me. Matgata pranaha, lives devoted to the service of Krishna. Bodhayanta, preaching. Parasparam, among themselves. Kathayanta cha, talking also. Mam, about me. Nityam, perpetually. Tushyanti, are pleased. Cha, also. Ramanti, enjoy transcendental bliss. Cha, also. The translation in English from His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are surrendered to me, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss, enlightening one another and conversing about me. So the thoughts of the devotees, Krishna's, those who are devoted to Krishna, they dwell in Krishna. Krishna is very pleased by this. This is His heart. Their lives are surrendered to Him, everything they do. And what's that mean? How do they get satisfaction in life? Most people get satisfaction, maybe if I do my duties to my family, to so many things, so many ways people are getting satisfaction. Sense gratification, yum, 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 and ooh, this is soft, very nice, and wow, that's pretty, So many things are people trying to get satisfaction. But they derive great satisfaction and bliss. Here's the lift. Enlightening one another and conversing about me. Conversing about me. First, in order to have a conversation, to share something, what do you have to have first? Some type of jnana, some type of knowledge of the subject should be there. A lot of people just like to talk and talk and talk, but are they qualified to talk about a subject? Maybe not. In the material world covered by Maya, most people are not qualified to talk about much of anything. They're just talking about anything and everything. But what's the knowledge? What's the actual subject? But the devoted, they derive great satisfaction and bliss, enlightening one another and conversing about me. That might be in the beginning. There's 9 processes of bhakti. We'll talk about the first 3. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma, Vidvedanam. So, I almost forgot the first, it was Vishnu. Thank you, Michael. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. These are the first 3. Crew, welcome. Long time no see. We're just talking about the lift. We're talking about the Empire State Building. and how it's so glorious when you get to watch the top of the Empire State Building, and how there's the stairs up the Empire State Building. Have you been there? No. And then we're talking about how most people, when they go to the Empire State Building, like these nice matas in the room, they went to the Empire State Building, but they took the lift up because they have some intelligence. It depends if you're looking for a good workout, something like this. So I was talking about Krishna also gives the lift, the spiritual lift in the Bhagavad Gita. So I'm trying to encourage us all to potentially get on the lift. And in this verse we're talking about, he's telling us how to get on the lift by ultimately the process of bhakti. And bhajante in the verse before it said the intelligent, the Buddha Bhava Samanvitaha, they engage in devotional service and worship him with all their hearts. They engage in bhajante, or worship. So, and then in this verse, the following verse, he's saying that the pure devotees, their thoughts dwell in him and their lives are surrendered to him, and this is how they derive great satisfaction. And here's the lift. And bliss, they enlighten one another and converse about me. So this is the lift process. One, though, we were talking about, how do you have a conversation about somebody? You should have some knowledge of somebody first. You have to get some knowledge of this type of person. So first is the process that you guys have the good fortune of partaking in right now. At least maybe you're doing it. I'm not sure if you're actually doing it. But it's called Shravanam. Hearing. Listening. That's the most fundamental. It's impossible to do kirtanam without Shravanam. So I can ask you, let's have a nice kirtan. But if you don't first hear the Maha Mantra, what can you chant? So Shravanam, this is the first stage. And then, what you heard, share. And this will enforce that you actually remember it into the future. They say the best way to learn something is what? It's a Western axiom. What's that? Audio visual. That's not the axiom I'm talking about. The best way to learn something is to teach something. So if you want to really learn something, start to teach others, and you're gonna remember, because you'll see in yourself how they need to learn, and you'll problem solve with them to and this is really helping you, and that's how you're really gonna learn and master something. That's how you're gonna really remember. So first, though, we have to do some Shravanam, and that's what we're doing right now. That's what this whole katha is about, giving everyone the opportunity to do some Bhagavat Shravanam. So we're doing this Shravanam, and we'll talk about what the benefits of doing that is. And remember, we had a problem, we mentioned in the beginning of class, that there's 3 gates to hell that are overcoming all of us. And they're from the lower modes of nature, rajas and tamas. And we need to get above them. And the gates to hell are these lust, greed, and anger. Hankering, nothing ever being enough. We always, I want this, I want this, I want this. And always greedy, once you get it, I want more, 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 more. And then anger, if somebody gets in your way, Michael's in the way, get out of the way, I want this. So these are going to lead you to hellish life. Lower and lower into the modes of nature. Deeper into tamas. So, what do? Actually, this is the lift. Above these modes of nature. So they derive great satisfaction and bliss, enlightening one another and conversing about me. Prabhupada's going to say in his purport, pure devotees whose characteristics are mentioned here engage themselves fully in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Their minds cannot be diverted from the lotus feet of Krishna. Their talks are solely on the transcendental subjects. The symptoms of the pure devotees are described in this verse specifically. Devotees of the Supreme Lord are 24 hours daily engaged in glorifying the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. The pastimes of the Lord, that's kind of a hint there. A lot of times we chant, we chant all day. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. We do our japa, I'm chanting this many rounds, I'm chanting this many rounds, I'm chanting this many rounds. But this is the hint here. If we don't hear first the pastimes of the Lord, how much depth will our chanting be? How much depth will be there in our chanting? We have to also first understand who the person we're chanting to is. So this is the secret. So they're engaged in glorifying the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Their hearts and souls are constantly submerged in Krishna, and they take pleasure in discussing him with other devotees. In the preliminary stage of devotional service, they relish the transcendental pleasure from the service itself. And in the mature stage, they are actually situated in love of God. So in the beginning, from the service itself, doing the seva, this is how we're going to get pleasure. And in the mature stage, we're actually situated in love of God. That means one who's mastered seva, doing devotional service. There's many different ways, like a lot of you guys are doing kitchen seva. You're like, well, how's cutting vegetables going to get me to Krishna? But to actually facilitate other people's processes of Shravan and Kirtan for the program, doing the sevas is integral. If there's no prasadam at the end of a program, every sacrifice it says in the Shrutis that any sacrifice is incomplete without the distribution of prasadam. Like if you're going to have a program, if there's no prasadam there, it's actually said that whatever you do, it will be incomplete without giving some type of prasadam. This is Bhagavad Gita 3rd chapter. But this is also, Krishna's referencing other things in the Vedas that have said the same thing. So any practice is incomplete without distribution of prasadam. So you engaging that these services to go on will actually give you transcendental pleasure. So the devotees, they do all kinds of sevas. But ultimately, what are the sevas? Facilitating that them and others can hear and share about the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. The Lord's teachings, Bhagavad Gita, is a transcendental pastime. Krishna is on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. His devotee falls into ignorance, and he's the integral devotee, Arjuna. And yet then Krishna enlightens him with this magnificent teaching. Just hearing Bhagavad Gita is a pastime in itself. It's not all just philosophy. It's a philosophy in the midst of pastimes. This is Leela. This is why Krishna is doing all of these things. To enlighten us and at the same time have fun. It's fun for him. And it's fun for the devotees who are in the midst of it. The residents of Vrindavan who are constantly associating with Krishna, they're having so much fun. Being enlightened and astonished every step of the way. Us, from where we're at, life isn't that much fun. It depends where we're at. Some of us, we know how to have fun. Like in this verse, it was mentioned how to have fun. They derive great satisfaction and bliss, enlightening one another and conversing about me, hearing of these higher topics. That's actually, we can have a transcendental fun. Ananda. Bliss, great satisfaction. What's the exact word that he used here? Tushyanti. Nityam tushyanti. Perpetually pleased. You can be perpetually pleased this way. Always making your subject matters of the transcendental. But in this world, we have, our real life responsibilities. We have so many things, so many talks, questions and answers we're talking about. Sometime, you might get someone and he wants to talk to you about the political spectrum, and you're like, oh God, I don't want to hear all these things. And sometimes it's relevant. Maybe it's important sometimes. But a lot of times we're not even very informed on the subject matter, or the person you're talking to is not even very informed, so you're probably not getting that great of a conversation going on here. But people want to talk about, the natural sciences, maybe what's happening in the ethos of the sporting events, maybe your favorite cricket star. I don't know anything about cricket, but, in the West, we would talk about football and baseball and all these things. But none of it matters. None of it is going to really give us great satisfaction and bliss. At least nityam, perpetually. That's what we're looking for. Every living entity is looking for Satchit Ananda. It's their nitya seva. They're looking for their eternal position. Why? Because they're eternal. That's the nature. We're all eternal. And the problem is, we do things that are not eternal. That's the problem. And so we suffer because it's against our nature. It's like taking a fish and throwing it out of water. And its nature is to swim in water. But so our nature is to actually do things in eternity. Things that which are sat. In truth, but sat doesn't just mean temporarily true. Sat means eternal. That's a qualification of sat. So in order to be a sadhu, one engaged in sat, who lives by sat, it has to be, the subjects have to be eternal. It can't just be like, oh, what's this political thing going on here? What's this thing? Actually, this happened to Prabhupada. Prabhupada, he met his guru, Bhaktisiddhanta. And in the midst of this conversation, Prabhupada, he was an activist. He just left college. He swore away his degree. He got a degree at Scottish Church College in Calcutta. And he swore it away because the Gandhi movement had recommended to swear away the degree. And they said, there's too much injustice in the world. So Prabhupada was all in. I'm in with this Gandhi movement. But his guru, he had a different opinion of what. And Prabhupada was saying that why aren't you advocating for Gandhi's movement? Why aren't you becoming a supporter of Gandhi? Why isn't your movement advocating? This is of the utmost importance at the time. And his guru gave a very surprising answer. He said, political regimes will come and go. This person will rise to power, and then this person will rise to power. But the eternal issues of birth, death, disease, and old age will always remain the same, at least in this material world. So our mission is far beyond this. Our mission is to enlighten others of their real situation and what will eternally make them happy, not a temporary situation that will make them happy. So Prabhupada was astounded because of all his friends, he was probably the smartest of the bunch. He was the best debater. He had so much, kind of esteem amongst his friends. But now he's put before this sadhu, a genuine sadhu, who's engaged in sat, only in these eternal spiritual matters. So he was completely blown away. And he said he debated with him for like maybe an hour. But every single point he had was smashed by this sadhu. And he loved it. Most people, if our opinions are being smashed, we don't love it. Because we're very attached to being right or being... But this is all temporary things. Oh, I temporarily look good in this sphere of something like this. Games of the ego or the ahankara, the false ego. But ultimately, somebody who is looking after the absolute truth, actually willing to have vada. You've heard of vada? Vada is a discussion. Krishna says of all conversations, he is vada. He mentions this in the Bhagavad Gita. Vada means a discussion, but the foundation of that discussion is what is the absolute truth. That's vada. So if two people are talking, trying to establish the truth, this is vada. But actually there's two other types of conversations that are happening in the world. And much of the time we're not in this vada conversation. The other two conversations are vitanda and jalpa. Vitanda means they want to assault your character. They don't care so much about any type of truth. They don't even care about enforcing their own agenda. They feel threatened by you and they're just going to assault your character. This is the worst type of conversation. Most people know to run for the hills. If somebody is just ready to assault your character without any type of establishing any type of truth in a conversation. But a very popular form of conversation other than vitanda, and much of us, we get caught in this type of conversation, so there's no real vada happening. It's called jalpa. Jalpa is we have a preconceived opinion. And it doesn't so much matter what the other party says. Our job in the conversation is to enforce our opinion, to bring our opinion to the table. And then when two people are discussing in jalpa, there's no winning. One is of a strong opinion one way, one is we see this all the time, debates. And people just agree to disagree. Well, what's true for you is not true for me. But actually, this isn't Vedic understanding. Vedic understanding is that there is a sat, there is something, there is an absolute truth, an objective truth. And the subjective should meet in the objective. And this is Vada. This is Vada conversation. So the devotees, they get great satisfaction and bliss having these type of Vada conversations. There's a very famous, there's many famous Vadas. What's a very famous Vada? I'll give you a hint. Go ahead. Bhagavad Gita, very famous Vada. Another famous Vada. Srimad Bhagavatam, yes, another famous Vada between Emperor Parikshit and Maharaj and Shukadev Goswami, that's right. So these are the famous, there are many famous Vadas, but they have to be Vada. So we should be very, very careful that we're at least engaging in Vada. And then what's the ultimate Vada that we can talk about? Topics of the transcendental, like Bhagavad Gita, like Srimad Bhagavatam. We're having this conversation right now. Actually, we can get great satisfaction and bliss by always doing this. By always doing this. This is what is the ultimate climax of all the other systems of yoga given in Bhagavad Gita, like Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and the meditative Ashtanga Yoga. This is the climax, is devotion. This is what one will learn in all of those other practices. It might take a longer time to eventually, like for instance, Karma Yoga leads one to Jnana Yoga. And Jnana Yoga will also lead one to practice some type of Ashtanga or meditative yoga. And the realization that one will get in Ashtanga ultimately is that there's a oneness and that we're connected and part of the oneness. And then the pinnacle of an Ashtanga yoga meditation, and this happened in Bhagavatam from Narada Muni. And this happened also in the Bhagavatam in another place with Dhruva Maharaj. They engaged in these Ashtanga yogas, and who did they find? Anyone know the pastimes? What's that?
Can you say which pastime again?
Narada Muni having his first darshan. Before he was Narada Muni, his previous life in a previous universal. What's that? Well, he had the darshans of the Bhakti Vedantas, but then after that, they left him. And who were they? And it was Vishnu. It was Narayan. He had darshan of Narayan. And Dhruva Maharaj, he was so adept in his, in 6 months' time, he's so adept in his Ashtanga meditation that, and he was meditating with a mantra. But his meditation was given by Narada Muni on the mantra we chanted at the beginning of class. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So he was utilizing this mantra to free the mind and rest it on Vasudeva. Because he was told that once Vishnu becomes pleased with him, he'll give him anything he desires. And then very famously, Vishnu came to him. And then he chanted, he said something very nice. I can only give the paraphrasing in the English. Adi, I'm glad to see you. Hare Krishna. The paraphrase is such that he was praying for a kingdom. He was so insulted by his father who favored his, they used to have multiple wives. But they favored the one wife. What was her name? There's a Sunita, and then there was a Sunichi.
No, Suruchi.
Suruchi.
He
And
favored the son of Suruchi.
yes. So he favored the son of Suruchi because that Suruchi was his favorite wife. She was the younger one. She was the cute one. And, that was a dynamic in kings who had multiple wives. We saw this in the Ramayana as well. Who was it? Yes,
But there's
Kaikeyi.
also a story that Kaikeyi, before her father got married her to Dashrata, Dashrata has promised that only your son will become the prince. So
Yes.
this is not known,
Yes.
but that was his promise. That's why this whole
It
thing
was,
was.
it was all going to be arranged that way.
Yeah.
But for the sake of Leela, Kaikeyi, she had to undergo the lower modes of nature and perform that whole pastime. But actually, she was a great devotee of Ram, and she's the unsung hero of the Ramayana. But for good reason, no one names their children Kaikeyi much anymore.
But she made a big sacrifice. She knew it.
Yes, yes, she is a glorious
Willing,
personality.
yeah. She was willing to accept all that negativism.
Yes.
At that time, she said, "I'll do it because if Ram doesn't go to forest,
Yes.
then all these demons won't be killed."
Yes, so there was a greater plan at play, and she was a great devotee, and only her. Actually, I think there's a pastime that Ram told her in his childhood that she would do this,
Yeah.
and that she didn't believe in it and want him to, but he assured her, like, you have to, only you can do
Only
this.
you can do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
So like this. But what happened was with Dhruv, the younger wife was favored, and then his son was favored, and he wanted to sit on his father's lap, and his father also wanted him to sit on his lap, but the other mother, she got very envious and said, no, only my son is the best. So he was neglected, and he got so insulted that he decided, I'm going to do this deep meditation and have Vishnu fulfill all of my desires. There's a whole pastime. It's in the 4th canto of the Bhagavatam.
Well, he goes to his mom, and his
Yes.
mom is very, very intellectual and
Yes.
spiritual, and she says, you want to sit in the lap of the Divine Father.
Yes.
So,
And so she points him to Vishnu,
Yes.
and then on the way out, he meets Narad Muni, and Narada points him, well, okay. But why did Dhruva want to go and meet Vishnu? He said, I want a kingdom that is far bigger than my father's. And then he wanted his own kingdom. And no one will disturb him there. But it's ultimately what ended up happening is he met Vishnu, and he said that I was praying for broken glass, but now you've appeared before me, and you're like precious jewels. And he didn't even want what he first, his initial desire. So, ultimately, the Lord himself was the ultimate desire, Bhagavan Sri Vishnu. The Supreme Personality, and this is all these pastimes of the Bhagavatam, they elucidate this more and more and more clearly. And the devotees, we can take the lift. We don't have to master Karma Yoga. We don't have to master Jnana Yoga. We don't have to master Ashtanga Yoga to get the benefits of all of them and more. We don't have to. Actually, it could be considered even a valuable waste of our time if we know of the lift. Why necessarily put more effort on the stairs if we know there's a lift? So we're here to share the lift. And this is it, the beginning, these processes of bhakti, which one? The Shravan. And even I get to do some Shravan. Mother, what is your name again? Rajna. Rachna? And because Rachna also knows Bhagavatam, she's sharing with me Bhagavatam, and now I get to do some Shravan. But we get to have some Vada. And actually in this, we can make more and more advancement. Our hearts will be purified. So we're actually going to jump. There's more Prabhupada is shared. But actually I was listening to this lecture of Prabhupada today, which has inspired this whole class. So these are the prayers that Prabhupada chanted in the from the Bhagavatam about the lift. And actually we chant 2 of them every morning in our Bhagavatam classes. So, hey, Tanmay. Hare Krishna. So happy to see you. So one of them goes like this, we chant. You guys who listen to Bhagavatam, you know this. Shrindatam Svagata Krishna Punya Shamana Kirtana So every morning we hear from Srimad Bhagavatam and we chant this prayer before it. These are verses from the Bhagavatam. It's the first canto, second chapter, verse 17. And it means, Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, the super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor, the truthful devotee. He cleanses the heart of material desire of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. So what happens is what we were mentioning, right? We're bogged down. What's holding us down? The lower modes of nature, rajas and tamas, which lead us to have the gates to hell, which are lust, greed, and anger. So how do we cleanse this desire, these lusts, and these greeds, these angers? And lust is the root of all of them. Krishna mentions in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Lust is the root of all of them. How do we cleanse our desire for these lusts? Punya Shravana Kirtana. We can have, just by hearing Krishna's messages, which are virtuous, punya, our urge to hear these things will be cleansed. When we hear the pastimes of the Lord and say the Bhagavatam, when we see the mistakes of the many devotees and the demonic characters in these pastimes, we just say, oh, like, we heard Ram Katha and about Kaikeyi, wanting her son to be king and being overtaken by this greed. After hearing this pastime, we're just like, yeah, I don't think I want to do that anymore. How am I being greedy in my life? How am I being selfish? We start to think about these things and what might take years of meditation to purify certain character flaws that we have. Just by hearing of the pastime, we can skyrocket above it. There's so much that we can do just by hearing the pastimes of the Lord and His messages. Shrinvatam, those who have developed the urge to hear the messages, we need to become Shrinvatam. We need to develop the urge to have Shravana of the Lord. This is the lift. This is what's going to rise us above. This is what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. This is what His pure devotees do, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss, enlightening one another and conversing about me. It doesn't have to be that hard. It's so easy just to go through the Bhagavan's pastimes. Now, after this, the following verse is this. You guys all know this, right? Nashta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavata yutamashloke bhaktivavati naishtaki. So by regular hearing of the Bhagavatam, or it's called Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya, service unto the Bhagavad. Now there's 2 types of Bhagavats. There's the book Bhagavad, like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. But then there's the person Bhagavat too. Serving the personality who's containing all of these things. There are persons, that's who we should hear from. A great Kirtaniya is one who actually has advanced realization. It's not someone who's musically adept and can chant Hare Krishna while they're musically adept. That's actually not very good kirtan at all. It could be, if they have the potency, they've done so much proper shravan and they have an intense devotion that their kirtan is powerful. Why? Because they have, they've acquired devotion, they've been gifted devotion from their guru, and the sadhus have given them. So this is our process. We should find person Bhagavats, and we should serve the book Bhagavats as well. We should study up. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Regularly, perpetually. This is what we're always doing. This is the lift. And what happens by regular hearing and class in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, who are also the personalities of the person Bhagavats, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. So what's troubling us? Lust, greed, anger. lower modes of nature. All that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And what comes in its place? Loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs. Bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. It's established as an irrevocable fact. No one can take it away from you at that point. Once you've actually made certain levels of advancement in your shravan, in your bhakti processes, it's never taken back. Actually, Krishna says in the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, no matter what progress you've made, you'll be born in a situation that you can make the next leap of progress in the next life. That's a guarantee. So this is ultimately the purpose of life. This is what carries the souls further. So this is what we should do. How are we doing this in our lives? We cultivate so many practices, but this is the lift. This is the lift. How are we regularly hearing? Like I was mentioning, sometimes we emphasize so much chanting, so much chanting, so much chanting. And this is indeed the process. But as Prabhupada mentioned in the last purport, the chanting is allowing you to, it's a facility to actually know and associate with Krishna. But we might have to hear his pastimes first. We might have to hear about him. That's the first process of bhakti. Many people are chanting Hare Krishna all over the world. So many different classes are chanting Hare Krishna. But their chanting is considered offensive by the pure devotees because they don't have knowledge of Krishna's pastimes. They are not actually connecting with Krishna. They're trying to oftentimes do a different process. Or they're trying to utilize the chanting of Hare Krishna for something else. This is a danger. We should always be very careful who we're hearing from. I'm trying to be a person worth hearing from, but I'm not always on that topmost level. We need to find we should find the ability to do Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. We need to find a guru worth hearing from, who is completely immersed in this. Srila Prabhupada, for us, it's clear. If anyone who reads his books, it becomes clear what type of personality that Srila Prabhupada was. To spread the Vedic teachings all over the world in just 11 years' time, breaking all kinds of his own, getting out of his comfort zone in so many ways, just to try and serve his guru's order. He didn't want to do it. He didn't want to come to the West. But because his guru wanted him to do it, he said, all right, Krishna must want me to do this, or I wouldn't be stuck with this order. So he took it. And what he did was amazing. And actually he set up facility centers all over the world like this for people to just regularly hear, to regularly take the lift above the modes of nature. And that's the next verse in the Bhagavatam. This is connected with these two verses. And we don't chant them in the morning, but this next verse that after this is very important. So it's Tadara Justamo Bhavaha Kamalo Bhadayaschaye Cheta Eteranabidham Sthitam Sattve Prasidati. This is how you can become fully satisfied, above the modes of nature. This is the fruit of doing this Shrinvatam, developing the urge to hear these messages and becoming purified by regularly doing this. As soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of nature's modes of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, lust, greed, and anger, they disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness, and he becomes completely happy. Sthitam sattve prasidati. You'll become fully satisfied in the mode of goodness by regularly hearing. There are other processes to achieve this pure sattvic state. Like we mentioned, the karma yoga system, the jnana yoga system, the ashtanga yoga system. But this one is so easy. It's so easy just to hear about the Lord's pastimes and his teachings. And it's just like that. Like you guys, it's so effective. Many of you guys today might reevaluate. Oh, this is where I'm lusty. This is where I'm greedy. This is where I'm angry. You might notice I don't have the desire to actually serve. I just want to enjoy. That realization might come in many ways. My tendency is not to want to serve. My tendency is to want to enjoy. So you can reevaluate these things. And just by hearing the teachings of the Lord, you might completely change your character. You might completely remove elements of yourself that are in tamas and rajas. So this is and what will happen? All the troubles will be almost completely destroyed. You know what that process is called when all troubles have vanished? What's that they call that? Mukti, liberation. You'll achieve liberation just like that. But then there's even more. So this is the lift. Remember this original Bhagavad Gita, what the pure devotees do. Their lives are surrendered to me, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss enlightening one another and conversing about me. So when we chant Hare Krishna, we can remember something of Krishna, and maybe his teachings in Bhagavad Gita, maybe his pastimes. We're saying the consonants, the syllables, but we should have some experience of Krishna, hopefully. Hopefully there's some experience. And maybe just for right now, just like, all right, well, I really like just chanting Hare Krishna. And that's great. That's a great foundation. But feel free to learn a little bit more about Krishna. Because this is the lift. This is the lift up. Realizing his position, he says, right, in Bhagavad Gita 10.8. Remember, these Chatur Shloki are very important. We did we did half the Chatur Shloki in Bhagavad Gita. It's 4 verses that sum up the whole Gita. That he's the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from him. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate. And the wise, and we should all strive to be wise, who know this perfectly, engage in his devotional service and worship him with all their hearts. That's the first thing. So then, what are the activities of the wise? They engage in devotional service and worship him with all their hearts. But what do? What's that mean? The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are surrendered to me, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss, enlightening one another and conversing about me. Constantly talking of him. Constantly talking about his subject matters. Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. So many things that Krishna does. The activities of his devotees, so many things. There's so many processes of bhakti. We did, in the beginning, much of you missed it. You all missed it. We did an arati in the beginning. Only because so many people stayed home with COVID. Now, I don't know if it's COVID, but they got sick. I know 2 people, one was here, tested positive for COVID. That's why he couldn't be here. But that meant that now I have to do the offering process at the end that he normally would do, which is no problem. So just shifted our schedule. But this is our ultimate process here, that we should regularly hear about the Lord, his topics, and we should hear them from those who are also engaged in these topics. We're trying to be those people here. We might not be perfect at it, but we're making a steady advancement. The more and more we do this, the more wonderful things are happening. But I'll end here and maybe open it up for a discussion. If anyone wants to ask a quick question or anything, need a clarification on anything that was said about the lift, how to rise above all of the lower aspects of life. Any questions or discussion points? Rishi.
You said that in all the verses, the primary source was that we should do devotional service unto Krishna. So, what is the bona fide way to do devotional service? What is considered to be a devotional service?
Yeah, so we mentioned at the beginning of class, right? Prahlad Maharaj, he talks about the 9 main processes of bhakti. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma, Nivedanam. So, that is first Shravan, hearing. You should hear about Krishna. That's the first step. Without hearing about Krishna, and then there's not going to be any memory. Any of the deeper levels of devotional service will be harder to unlock without hearing about Krishna. Now you can, somehow or other, say you get lucky, and you don't hear much about Krishna. But somehow or other you come across Krishna's pure devotee and you just do padasevanam. You just serve his feet and see, let me see if I can help this. I really like this guy. I don't know what it is I like about him, but I like him. He's, and you've heard nothing about Krishna. You don't even, but by serving him, he'll tell you all about Krishna, naturally. So any of the processes of bhakti are there. And I gave 9, Prahlad Maharaj, I gave 9, but there's 64 processes of bhakti mentioned in all the Shastras. So you can do any of them, but the 9, but Prabhupada has emphasized that the topmost one, top 3 are Shravanam, Kirtanam, and Vishnu Smaranam. Hearing about Krishna, reciting Krishna's glory, glorifying Krishna, and remembering Krishna. These are very important. But of that, the topmost one is to join in Kirtanam. But for Kirtanam to happen, some Shravanam should be there. So these are the main ways, are Shravanam, Kirtanam, and Vishnu Smaranam. These are the best devotional services. But, by hearing, doing Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya, you got to find somebody who's expert in these things, and they can guide you. Like, for instance, an expert, they might tell you, you're like, well, I just want to hear Harikatha, hear Harikatha, hear Harikatha. And that's a wonderful thing. But he might tell you, there's going to be no Harikatha today unless someone gets in the kitchen and chops the vegetables, and we cook a meal, or there's going to be no proper Harikatha today. So then that person, instead of like, oh, okay, well, maybe I should go chop vegetables. So like this. So we should hear from people who know how to arrange these processes of bhakti deeper. This is the importance of guru. They'll instruct us, because a lot of times we might be like, all right, well, I know my way up the lift, but we probably don't know our way up the lift. And actually the process is padasevanam. We want to serve the feet and we do nityam bhagavata sevaya. We want to eternally serve the pure Bhagavats. And it's not, we want to serve the Shastras, but we need somebody to reveal the Shastras to us. So this is the Bhagavats. So we have, in our lineage, we have gurus that we ultimately, and it's evident, a guru is realized to be a guru by also what the other sadhus are saying and what the Shastras are saying. It's not someone just takes the position of guru and they say anything and everything, and whatever they say, like, oh, massage my feet, Rishi, this will be the best way for your devotional service. Give me a back massage, or whatever it is, But if it's not in alignment with how other sadhus are also interpreting the Shastra, it might be a danger that this is not, this may not be a bona fide guru. Or there should be evidence in Shastra and through the sadhus of old, at least. This is bona fide. And like in our Acharya lineage, this is there. Even when our Acharyas were so revolutionary. I mean, Prabhupada gave this process to women, and in the past that was not the case. Like, not women always, the topmost devotees of Krishna were all women. But in the past, the women weren't taking initiation and taking some of these other aspects, maybe doing arati and all these other things in temples and things like that. Well, Prabhupada, he gave all that because he felt it was in alignment with ultimately the teachings of Shastra. And he saw evidence from devotees in the past like this. So there's so many ways, and many of the other sadhus, even his godbrothers, agreed with his sentiments and also followed suit. Many other did like that. So yeah, we should follow in the footsteps of what the previous acharyas have done, and then we'll know. And then we should be following it. We should take in guidance from somebody. And remember, the most important guru in the Bhagavatam is what? Who is the most important guru Bhagavatam is giving?
Sri Krishna himself?
It is the Shiksha Guru, the instructing guru. Who is connecting you to Sri Krishna? This is what Bhagavatam is recommending. So you should find a proper Shiksha Guru and see what they want. And make sure they're bona fide. You know, if someone says, "Oh, I'm your Shiksha Guru. My feet really need a good massaging." But that's you should be like, maybe so actually, but you should really check. You know, check all the boxes. Are they a bona fide Shiksha Guru? Do they also have Guru? Are they taking instructions? Is this coming in a proper disciplic succession? How are they connecting me to Krishna? This should all be studied and tested. The Guru needs to be tested actually. In order to be a proper Shishya or disciple, you're not just like a blind follower. No, you have to test the Guru scrutinizingly. If you're a blind follower, you'll just be cheated. You're looking for an easy way out. A proper Shishya, you will test the Guru and say, okay, not in a challenging way, not in a disrespectful way, but you'll ask questions like, Gurudev, why do like this? You know, the Shastra says like this and this, and he should be able to give you some type of satisfactory answer from Shastra, from the previous acharyas, from other sadhus doing like this. Then he's a bona fide guru. Otherwise, we'll be cheated. We have to become very sincere. So anyway, these are some things. This is a good question. I actually wish we could keep doing it about this, because this is how we can derive great bliss, by just doing a lot more of this. But we all have friendship with each other. We can continue having these type of things. We do this every day, every morning. We're here doing this at 7:20 in the morning. On non-program days. On Fridays and Sundays we don't do it in the morning because we do our discussion here at this time. But every other day, we're doing this every day. It's here to every day hear these topics, have discussions, associate with devotees. And then when we do our personal practices like chanting, our meditative and our own personal study, it's empowered, it's enlivened. So, yeah, this is the lift. That's my presentation. Thank you guys so much. Michael's going to lead Kirtan. I'm really praying. Parth, are they done with the prasadam? Is it ready to offer? So I'm really praying it's ready to do a proper offering on time, because no sacrifice will be complete without the offering of prasadam. And unfortunately, if all the devotees' bliss will be disturbed if the prasadam is not on time. But we could just talk more about Krishna. It's ready. Okay. So I'm going to go do that aspect. Michael's going to lead us in Kirtan. Kru's going to be on Amardanga. And Parth is also going to be on Amardanga. So, what's that? You'll do the kartals. So this is... but Adya can also do kartals. So whatever you'd like.
So sorry. We have to leave in maybe 5 or 10 minutes.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. If you
We have somebody coming to us.
no problem. Our food stuff won't be prepared yet, but you know what? We have some sweets, some burfis.
No, it's not about
No,
that.
but we want to give you though. So Parth, go arrange for them to have burfis upon leaving.
How long will this take, you know?
We'll go for another 15-20 minutes, and then then we all eat together afterwards.
We can offer 15 minutes, and then after 15 minutes we can give it.
Yeah.
15 minutes?
Especially if I go right now. So thank you.